This was a matter that needs to be heavily scrutinized because it almost took the lives of dozens, if not hundreds of people, but for the quick reaction of our law enforcement. And we're going to be talking about how we improve the security, not just for this event, but for all events going forward.
Head of the FBI, Kash Patel, here on Fox just about an hour ago. I want to give you an idea of the setup for this hotel that really is somewhat famous and infamous in Washington history. It's the Washington Hilton. It's a massive hotel, by the way, and it's built on a bit of a slope here, okay? It's not a steep hill, but it is a hill that slides to the right. Connecticut Avenue, this is the area where you see a lot of people holding signs and protesting, and most of the people who would be attending the dinner on Saturday night would enter from this main lobby door here. But see this street along here? That's called T Street. This is another entrance here, slightly downhill on the slope. That's where Ronald Reagan was shot in March of 1981. So now we're inside the building toward the basement, more or less, where this room is located. It's a huge oval room. We said it held about 2,500 people on Saturday night. So this would be one walkway. Here's another one. You've got stairs and an escalator here. The ballroom level has stairs here, and that's as far as the gunman went. So in the space of this oval, the shooter never got inside. Now we'll go over here again. Here is the oval once again, all right? You got multiple ways for get down on stairs. They're not extensive stairs, maybe 10, 20 at a time, all right? Across that ballroom here is where the president was sitting with the vice president. They were taken behind the table, backstage, and escorted out. Just to give you an idea about Washington, D.C., you got 1.5 miles from the White House to the Washington Hilton, which you could do easily without traffic in a presidential motorcade. Swing on over here, Jimmy. Here's the timeline. Within 3 hours now on Saturday night, okay? 8:35 Eastern Time, they've got the shots heard inside. Moments later, the suspect was stopped in his tracks. Shortly after, subdued and in custody. Then within 45 minutes, you got a post online about the president talking about the shooter being apprehended. The event was cleared. Trump leaves. And then you had that press conference with the entire cabinet from the briefing room on Saturday night. And within 3 hours, you had the initial charges against the suspect from Torrance, California. Speaking of that, the FBI was at the home in Southern California where the suspect was living with his parents. And Jonathan Hunt takes us live now in Torrance to bring us up to date on that end of the story now. And Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning to you, Bill. All quiet at the house behind me here, where the accused shooter, Cole Thomas Allen, lives with his parents. That was not the case on Saturday night. Law enforcement, including the FBI here, very quickly after the shooting happened. And then on Sunday, they served the search warrant, went into the home, obviously talked to the parents, trying to find out what they could about Cole Thomas Allen and his potential motivations. We do know that this attack was apparently well planned, not just in the transportation that he took, but so many other things. But in terms of transport, he didn't take the quicker option of taking a plane. He traveled from LA by train, first to Chicago, then to DC. Obviously, luggage x-rays on trains, much less than it would have been had he taken a plane. Then he checked into the Washington Hilton, and then, as we all know, he rushed those magnetometers, rushed through security there before being taken down, pinned down on the floor of the Washington Hilton before he could get to his potential targets, which officials are telling us were most likely President Trump himself and other cabinet members. Here's the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche.
It appears he was targeting members of the administration, but I say that generally because that's all we know right now. We don't have any specifics beyond that.
So who is Cole Thomas Allen? Well, we know he got an engineering degree in 2017 from Caltech, then a master's in computer science at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. He was a high school tutor here and apparently won Teacher of the Month recently. We do know that he made various anti-Trump posts on social media, and there were comments in this manifesto that were also critical of the Trump administration. But other than his sister, Bill, saying that he did make some radical statements, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody here who saw any real red flags. And one of the questions I think investigators are going to be looking at is how did this essentially mild-mannered university student, then teacher, turn so radical so quickly? Bill?
Maybe we'll get some of those answers very soon. Maybe in court today, we'll see.
Yep.
Jonathan, thank you. Dana?
Let's bring in James Gagliano. He's a retired FBI supervisory agent, also a Fox News contributor. So Jonathan just took us through everything that we know so far based on your experience, and especially in particular the issue of the train. Because a lot of us take the train back and forth from New York and D.C. all the time, but you know the trains are full, people are traveling everywhere. There isn't the same kind of security. We all know that.
Yeah, that's something that we're going to be looking at very closely. And look, Dana, we all get upset when we have to take our shoes off at the airport, or we all get upset when there's long lines trying to get through airport security. But when you board a passenger or commuter train in the United States, and this individual traveled some 2,700 miles, other than random checks, ticket checks, there's no magnetometers, there's no screenings other than maybe bringing on a canine dog to sniff for bombs and explosives. But in this instance, an individual was able to disassemble a shotgun, which is relatively easy to do, place it in a bag with a handgun and some knives, and travel cross country from California through Chicago and into D.C. Then once he got into the hotel, look, unless you emptied the hotel out and you made it a sterile environment and a secure environment, this type of an event, not a national special security event, but probably should be in the future, just didn't have the template necessary, the security template to completely protect the president and everybody there.
Just based on my experience, a president's initial reaction is always, in my experience, to defend the Secret Service. President Trump did that. Watch here.
The Secret Service and all law enforcement I thought they were outstanding. You know, you can always take a nitpick and everything else, but they were outstanding. They stopped him cold, and there was no games being played, that I can tell you. And you just look at them, these were strong, solid people who've got to get paid.
Referring there to the government shutdown. So, yes, I think obviously everyone did a good job after the situation, but given what we know now and that this is the third time in his life in 3 years, and we are living in a situation where I'm not sure how you harden all of these soft targets. What do you think should happen at this meeting that apparently the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, will be having about the future of security at big events?
Yeah, it's difficult because, you know, you're on that continuum again between accessibility and security. Presidents and politicians writ large like to be accessible to the public. But how do you keep somebody safe in an era that we're existing in now? Look, I mean, when Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, there were a lot of lessons learned. And then when you go through Garfield and McKinley and JFK, but the paradigm has changed and shifted, and we need to shift with it as terrorists and political assassinations change their tools of the trade, try different tactics, and remember, they always follow the path of least resistance. We've got to change and shift too, and I guarantee you the Secret Services is going to undergo a hot wash, an after-action review, and there will be some changes after this.
What does a hot wash mean?
Hot wash is an after-action review of best practices. What worked? What didn't work? What were we lucky to get away with? What do we need to bolster? Those type of situations. It's simply an after-action review.
Okay, James, thank you so much. We will have you around as we figure out what's going to happen next. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.